Hey guys, Trip Tiller here again with Analog Way Tech Support, and I'm back to do another quick tutorial. And on this one I want to go over images, how to use the images in the system on layers, backgrounds, how to get them into the system, and just how to manipulate them and the different parameters that you need to be aware of. Cool, so first thing we want to do is come down to your image library. This is where we're going to start the importing of your image. You can drag and drop, or you can just go through the browser, and I'll get a few in here real quick. Cool, so I just loaded 3 random images that I got offline, and you'll notice the 3 different resolutions. We have your 1920, your 3840 by 1080, and your 3840 by 2160. And I did that mainly because I have 3 different screens built with those same exact specs. Here's your HD screen, your 4K, and your 32 by 9. And keep in mind when you're using backgrounds, your image, whether it's an image or an input, a live input, when you put things on the background, it's going to default to the resolution of that output. So I'm using output 1, 2, and 3 for those 3 different screens, and you'll notice the first one is 1920, then your 3840, and your 3840 by 1080. So just want to be aware of that. Once you get the images in here, let me show you here. So you have a lot of like image, I don't want to call them image slots because that's what the next area we call it. But just different spots in here to store your image library slots, I guess. But that doesn't mean it's ready to be queued up. Next thing you want to do is get these images onto a slot. And this is where the hardware of your device is going to dictate how many slots you have. And you'll notice this one, I have 48 image slots. And that's because I have 2 image cards in here. And one of these slots is, you'll notice when I click on it, it gives the information about that slot, is capacity 1. So if you remember my other videos where I went in on the capacities, this is another situation where you need to be mindful of how big your image is. What's the resolution? Is it a capacity 1 image? Is it a capacity 2? And you'll notice if I put a capacity 2 image on a capacity 1 image slot, so watch what happens, it automatically downscales it to the max of that capacity 1, which is roughly dual link, but that's because I have this allow downscale on. If this allow downscale isn't on, you'll just see it give you the error out of capacity. So, in order to get your image to the image slot to be a capacity 2 image slot, you'll want to come over to up under pre-config. You remember this is where we did all the capacity stuff for your inputs and outputs. So same with your images. You'll want to, and that's another notification when you click on there, hey, you have a capacity 2 image on a capacity 1 slot, so we'll want to change that slot to be a 4K slot, and now it's capacity 2. What that did was it used the resources from the slot next to it. So now you have a capacity 2 image slot, but you no longer have your image slot 2. So if you have all 4K images, just be mindful it's going to cut your slots in half. So I'll go ahead and load the other 2 images on here. And once you get those in there, you'll notice, let's go back to the screen's aux page. These are now ready to be used. You can put them in layers. And so this one I know is a capacity 1 layer, and that's exactly what I expected it to happen. Put a capacity 2 image on a capacity 1 layer, you're going to get an out of capacity error. But if you put a capacity 1 image on a capacity 1 layer, it works just fine. Cool. But layers isn't the only spot you can use images. So let's get these on some backgrounds. And to do that, you'll want to come over to your backgrounds tab. This is where you'll assign So when you're in your backgrounds and you see background set 1 that I will drag to this screen, background set 2 for this screen, background set 3 for this screen. Each one of these represents background 1, 2, 3, and so on for each screen. So just because I have background set for 1 here doesn't mean that same image is going to be on background set 1 for here. And you'll see that because you can assign those here. So I want to assign some images. So let's do this 1920 since that's the resolution of that one. This one is that 4K one. And this is that 3209. Cool. So now when we come back here, they already loaded up because I already loaded that background set to it. Watch what happens when I load a different one. Alright. So that is how you get your backgrounds. And you can do the same with live inputs. So I have a couple of live inputs here. So let's say I want to use this one as background set 2. And these are just 2 random inputs that I have on the system here. So also be aware that, remember what I was saying earlier, when you load an image or input to a background that isn't the same resolution, is going to change the resolution of that background or of that source. So watch what happens when I do this 3840. It just gave me the error of invalid content. Let's see if I can actually load that on there. Yeah, it let me load it on there, but what it did to that input, it changed the resolution of that input. Now you see that input, that source is coming in at 3840 by 1080 because I loaded that to a 3840 by 1080 background. So I was working with some guys the other day. They're like, hey, my input resolutions are not the resolution we're sending out from our computer. And they had a ton of screens set up. And I had to go through and figure out, oh, you're using this input or this source on this random resolution screen's background. And keep in mind, you had to take it off in order to get that input to come back with the native resolution that that source was sending. But keep in mind that just because you disable that screen, so some people I've seen, they have screens disabled, but so it didn't happen in this one, but I've seen instances where that kind of stuff lingers in the background. So watch when I enable these screens. All the stuff that I added to these screens are still here already. So there's some sort of data that's kept in there, and just disabling a screen doesn't mean it goes away. If you're having weird things with sources not coming up the right resolution, you have a ton of screens at different resolutions, check to see if you have some backgrounds loaded and it's not matching resolutions. But what you can do is go to that source and remove from all background sets. So now you'll see that that source came back to the correct resolution. I hope that cleared any of the background questions that you guys have. I know it's kind of a long and tedious process, but that is it. And just be mindful of what firmware you're on. I'm on 4481. So if you're on something different, it might look slightly different, but all the same concepts apply. And yeah, that's pretty much it about backgrounds and images. Thanks. If you guys have any other questions, let me know. Leave comments below, and I can do videos on those too. Thanks, guys.